And I'm just amazed at the vision of Peace Action to recognize this year that the existential threats to life on this planet are, of course, nuclear disaster and climate chaos. And that's why it's so important that the award, the William Sloane Coffin Award this year, goes to somebody who is the embodiment of a life spent and spending on trying to protect Mother Earth. LADonna Brave Bull Allard is a Dakota historian and activist, member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. She is from Cannonball District of Standing Rock. She is on her father's side, Ihunktawana and Sisseton. On her mother's side, Hunkpapa and Blackfeet Lakota. Her father, Frank Brave Bull, was descended from Brave Buffalo, a medicine man. She graduated from University of North Dakota, majoring in history. And she is making history. How many of you stand up if you went to Standing Rock? Thank you for going there. And it's hard to even talk about what that experience meant to those of us who were there. We learned something transformative, and the thousands of people who passed through there were transformed. This woman, LADonna Brave Bull Allard, had the first camp, the Sacred Stone Camp, on her private property. The camp was aimed at halting the Dakota Access Pipeline. And from the beginning of this in December 2016, it grew to a city. It was a city. Over 10,000 indigenous people and environmental activists, water protectors, camping in this area, the movement becoming the largest intertribal alliance on the American continent in centuries, and possibly ever, with over 200 Indian tribal nations represented. It was and is historic, and this is an amazing woman who helped to make it happen and continues to do so. Please get up off your seats and give her the honor that she deserves. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tamakawa Shtewi, her good earth woman. I am Ihunktua Paviska Sisitan Dakota. I am Hunkpapa, Sihasapa, and Okwala Lakota. And I am from the Cannonball River. I'm enrolled member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I am the tribal historian and genealogist. I spent my past life working for the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, compiling history, and mostly being a grandma. So I'm not quite sure how all of this happened, but I will tell you at the beginning, it was not about me. It was about the young people. It was the young people who stood up first. In 2014, when they came and told us they were going to build a pipeline across our waterway, and Washte, we young, called me to her office and said, LADonna, you got to look at these maps. And I said, oh my God, who's going to build a pipeline in my backyard? And then I tell everybody, then my mind went blank. And I think about that every day, you know, maybe I should have stood up sooner. Because at that moment, the only thing I could think of is, I'm a mom. And even though my son died, I am still a mom. And I will be a mom until I die. And my son is buried across from that pipeline right now. And my daughter raises his 2 sons. And my father and my aunts and my cousins are all buried on that hill. And my mind, I thought, who would build a pipeline next to my son's grave? Over my dead body. And oh, by the way, I'm still fighting. So in that whole process, I never imagined what would happen. First, we told Dakota Access no. The chairman of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe said no in 2014. Every tribal department said no in 2014. And then we put out the call for Oshete Shakoan, which is my nation, and they said no. Oshete Shakoan and my tribal nation is in Montana, Wyoming, northern Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ontario, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. My nation is divided into 14 reservations and 9 Canadian reserves today. And we are still alive. The indigenous people across this land have been here defending this land since time immemorial. I was told when I was young, no matter what they do to us, they starve us, they kill us, they poison us, they give us diseases, they take our children away, they make rules in courts, they take our homes away. We are still standing because we must stand for the Mother Earth. We have no other reason to live than to protect the Mother Earth, and that's what we have to do. When we started, as I said, I'm just an old grandma, so I didn't know how to do any of this. And it was the young people who taught me. They said, Grandma, you ever heard of Facebook? Do you know about live stream and Instagram and Twitter? And I was like, no, teach me. It is the young people. In 2014, we went to the schools and we asked kindergarten to high school students to write about what the river meant to them. And then we did a media campaign with the young people and sent that out. And the young people said, water is life. Miniwachoni in our language, water is life. And we stood by them young people. And in 2016, as we were going around telling our community members what was happening, the chairman was at a meeting explaining what this pipeline would do to us. And there was 3 young people, Joseph White Eyes, Wiaka Eagleman, and Jocelyn Charger, along with Joy Brown, who was in that meeting saying, we fought XL Pipeline, we want to help you. Would you think about building a camp? So at the end of the meeting, I said, I have some land. You want to come see? And they said, yeah, tomorrow. So I said, okay. And they said, this is perfect. When do you want to start a camp? I said, well, I don't know. They said, well, start at April 1st. I said, in 5 days? Yes. So the camp started. The first thing we knew right from the part is we have to stay in who we are, and that is prayer, ceremony, and nonviolent resistance. It is the way we've always done things. And so we had rules. Every morning we prayed, every morning we went on prayer walks, and we watched everybody. And then on July 15th, they came and told us that they were going to start construction. And I was in a panic. Now what do we do? And so I went to my room, and I did a live stream, and I asked people to come help me. It's the first time I understood the power of social media. I remember there was this woman that pulled up from South Carolina, little gray-haired lady, sweet as a bug, car full of things. And I said, "Why did you come to the reservation?" She said, "I've been waiting for this call my whole life." That told me that we understand what's happening around us. We see what's happening in our communities. We see what's happening to our beautiful earth, the water, our environments. We see, and we want better lives. And so, at the highest amount, we had 10,000 people on the ground. An average 15,000 was the largest amount of people, and we went through 100,000 people. Of course, as you know, things change. And as we had the oil companies do everything you could imagine, on September 3rd, our lives changed forever. On that morning, I was talking to Amy Goodman about my grandmother, Nape Hotewea, gray-hand woman, about how at the Whitestone Massacre, all her family were killed, and she was the only one that lived. At 9 years old, she was shot in the hip as she laid on that field. For some unknown reason, they picked her up that field and took her to the prisoner of war camps. And because they did that, we are here today. Everybody else in our family was murdered. This is our history. We understand that. My grandma told me, never have we ever been victims to anything. We have always been survivors, and that makes us meaner than anybody that walks this earth. With that, on that day, I was talking to Amy Goodman, and I give thanks to her every day as she was interviewing me. In the middle of the interview, I got the phone call, and they said, "LADonna, the bulldozers are here." And I was like, "What?" "They're bulldozing the graveyards." And I said, "Stop them." And I remember Anton was saying, "Well, we're not quite sure what to do." And I said, "Push the men out of the way and call the women. I'm coming." And I'm so glad that Amy followed me that day. I got there. And just as I got out of my truck, everybody was crying. And I watched a man get out of that white truck and mace a whole line of women and children. And then I walked up into the field, and this woman had this dog, singing this dog on people, and his mouth was dripping with blood, and they had this big gray-headed pit bull on the side, and they were singing the dogs on the people, and I thought, where the heck am I? Is this really this place called America? Oh wait, this is the America I know. On that day, everything changed. When the papers came out, they said it never happened, so that's why I'm so thankful for Amy Goodman. She was able to show the world what was happening to us. From that day on, Tiger Swan and the 11 other militia groups that they brought in to defend themselves, along with the police and the National Guard, to attack us, things got pretty rough. Every day the people would go and sing and pray. and they would shoot them with percussion grenades, rubber bullets. You guys all know what an Allard machine is? It's this big machine that makes this loud noise, and you fall down and you throw up and you get disorientated. Well, they had the Allard machine out there. Every day it was something new. And when they started bringing the water cannons, first it wasn't so bad because it was still warm. But the night they brought the water cannons when it was below zero, I remember my best friend, she was telling me, it's like, why didn't you move? She said, I couldn't. From where I was standing, she said, when they shot the grenades, I could tell people to duck. If I moved, somebody would be hurt worse. And she said, so I just stood there as they let them douse me with water until she become one solid ice sheet. She said, at least I tinkled when I walked as the ice cracked. Who lives like that? Every day, I still get messages about people who are still suffering from their damages. For the man in Maine who lost the use of his hand as the rubber bullet took out his knuckles. As you know, Susie, who was shot in the face, she is blind in one eye. As the young lady who lost her arm. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. And I don't know how many people know that they sprayed us with poison every day, a poison called Roseau. And so a lot of the people got sick. We watched all of these human rights violations. And I'm so thankful for these ladies here to help me go to the UN so I could ask the UN to come help us. And I'm so thankful they came to see the atrocities we were going, because each one that was arrested had a number put on their arm. And then they were shackled and they had hoods on and they were taken and put in dog kennels. Who does that to people? I'm telling you. And so as we were there, I remember my daughter as she was up the front line and she said, Mom, listen to what these cops say to us. And I said, record them. Bring your women over here. We'll make sure they won't be able to walk. And I said, just record them. I don't know much, but I do know media makes and breaks you. And we did live streams. We did accounts. I told them, don't go out without recording. Record everything. So then they brought in things to shoot down our drones, to shoot and arrest our media people. Oh wait, there's no freedom of speech in America. And then they went underneath and got the people to close the camp down. And so we sat down and said, what do we do? And my camp said, we came in peace, we came in prayer, we move our camp. And so that's what we did, to try to do it as peaceful as possible. I know that people, the great people of Oshete, the large camp, choose to stay as long as they could. But each of us had to do better. So what has happened since then? You gotta excuse me, I'm really tired. So, we learned a lot. We learned that fossil fuel, which is really not good for us. We learned that we could live a better life using green energy. We learned wind, thermal, and solar power, because that's how we lived at the camps. And we thought, why can't we get these companies to divest and invest in communities and invest in green energy? So we decided to do our divestment program. And right now, I just returned from Norway, Switzerland, Germany. We were in Dublin last night. And the other groups are in France and another in Italy, asking the banks to divest. So we have divested $3 billion so far. And the announcements that will be coming out in this next week will be billions more. I would like to see the wealth of America be invested into communities, to be invested into making us sustainable. I truly believe in food sovereignty, planting our own food, and getting away from corporations. I'm sorry. We have only just begun, and so when the camps closed, 250 camps sprung up across the United States. Canada, Alaska, Mexico, Latin America, South America, the UK, China, Russia, Kenya, and the difference is we're all talking to each other now. And we're all supporting each other. Because if we want to change the world, we got to do it together. If we want to change the world for our grandchildren, we got to do it better. And right now, I don't care who knows. I have 18 grandsons. And one granddaughter. And she's going to rule the world. So in this whole process, I learned about partnerships and allies. I learned that nobody stands alone. I learned that each of us work together, we can do things. Since then, I told people, they said, LADonna, what do we do now? I said, the first thing you do is put seed in the ground, plant. Second thing you do, plant some trees, because people don't understand, trees cause oxygen. Third, start helping your communities and start talking to each other. In the Cannibal District, if anybody knows where I come from, we are way below poverty. We have communities with no running water. We still live off the ground. We are not that far from our earth. And so we asked the communities, what do you want? So I planted 350 trees in the Cannibal District. We gave out food to all the people in the community. And then I looked around and seen all the beautiful water protectors having a hard time. Post-traumatic stress is a real thing. And so we had a healing gathering of all the water protectors to help them heal through prayer and ceremony. And I think what happened through this whole process is, instead of creating activists, we created families. We are now forever connected. And so now, forever, for the rest of my life, I stand with the mountain in Hawaii. I stand with my Maori relatives. I stand with my Aboriginal relatives. I stand with the Samis. I stand with the Mongolians, who are the amazing people that gave us all the yurks. I stand with the people of India and the Aboriginal people of Japan, the people of South America. I have the utmost privilege of meeting some of the greatest people in the world, the people who care for the earth. And I know that what's happening in our government now is hard for us, but I truly believe if we continue to stand and empower ourselves, because I keep asking people, when did a government tell us what to do? I thought the power was in the people. When did we lose that power? When I was in the street here in Switzerland, you know, and these people are really nicely protesting. It was just kind. I had to go out there and tell them, no, this is not how you do it. You got to stand up and fight back, and that's what we're doing now. Get you two alone. Thank you. I'm deeply honored. I'm deeply honored.